I'd like to welcome first Representative Sollman and Senator Gorsuch.
Good afternoon, Chair Power, Vice Chair Wallen, and members of the committee. For the record, I am Janeen Sollman. I'm the state representative for House District 30, which includes areas of Banks, North Plains, Hillsborough, and Aloha Beaverton. In the 2020 special session, Oregon legislators passed House Bill 4210, which eliminated the suspension of driver's license solely for the inability to pay court fines and fees. However, House Bill 4210 only affects suspensions after October 1st, 2020. This proposed legislation would allow for individuals who have suspended license due to failure to pay court costs prior to October 1st, 2020 to be eligible for no-cost license reinstatement. In 2019, almost 100,000 suspensions for failure to comply, ODOT DMV's category for suspensions due to failure to pay court fines, were issued. Now, of those, roughly half were reinstated, which leaves about 50,000 drivers in 2019 without a valid driver's license. This is a critical lifeline for families and individuals during the COVID-19 pandemic, which, while cars are necessary for employment and safe transportation. Now, allowing these residents to reinstate their licenses would ensure that Oregonians are able to drive to work and access essential services during a pandemic and in the subsequent economic recovery. This bill would not be permanently retroactive. It will only apply for 12 months or a grace period. Individuals would apply to the ODOT DMV and, if eligible, would have their license reinstated. This would not eliminate owed court fines or fees. Those would still need to be paid and could be collected upon collection agencies or settled via payment plans as usual. As mentioned, there is a -1 amendment posted to OLIS that slightly broadens the scope of who would be eligible for no-cost reinstatement. And we worked on this with ODOT and think there may be just one more small adjustment to make in the language in its coming. I will let the advocates following me speak more to the amendment and what it entails, but essentially it would allow those with a failure to appear or failure to maintain insurance to also be eligible for the no-cost reinstatement. So I really appreciate your time today. I have some great advocates coming with a great panel of speakers that I think can help us address any questions that you might have. And I urge your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator?
Thank you so much, Chair Power, Vice Chair Wallen, members of the committee. My name is Chris Gorsuch, and I am the State Senator for Senate District 25. And I am here today to testify in support of HB 2523. My main role here is to just provide some background for why these efforts are so important. When I introduced HB 4065 last year, we were addressing significant hurdles that were really getting in the way of people who certainly had made some mistakes, but were nevertheless foundering in their efforts to pay fines. And so we tried to come up with a solution that would help with that. As we saw then, an inability to pay fees and fines can result in what amounts to really an indefinite suspension. So this was creating a spiraling effect for our constituents, as losing your license erodes your ability to earn the money it requires to pay the fines. The implications, as we have heard from individual testimonials, were pretty profound. We heard from folks that have gone years without being able to legally drive, whether that was to drive their kids to school or to drive their medically vulnerable loved ones to a doctor, and sometimes even to respond to a household emergency. Even with 2020's House Bill 4065, the process was still burdensome because reinstating your license was still resulting in fees that some people were just unable to pay. I think it's also good to note that in passing the legislation of 4065, we joined with some pretty diverse states, including Montana, Idaho, Mississippi, and California, in basically saying that we needed to end this relatively ineffective practice. I believe that House Bill 2523 is the next logical step. And for those that are concerned about recouping the cost of implementation, I would remind you that when there are barriers to employment and participation in the economy, our revenues actually go down. Essentially, a given fine holds people back from earning the money that is taxed and then is spent on driving economic vitality. So these fines essentially bog the economy down, hold us back from where we would like to be, and they are certainly an impediment to some of our citizens, especially when you consider that they were initially into trouble because they couldn't pay fees in the first place. So thank you again for allowing my testimony, and I'm sure that the panel will have answers for any technical questions that you may have that are coming up behind me. So thank you, Chair. That concludes my testimony.
Thank you, Senator.